Welcome in to the Bobby Carpenter Show. My man Schleg's over there, just juiced out of his mind as always. Super stoked for just the world and everything, and how excited you are, Schleg. So I'm excited for how pumped you are about today. Got a huge show going here on this Thursday before Easter. So we're gonna have a lot of movement here this week of the spring. I know we've talked a lot about Nico Iamaleava and everything that's going on with him. This week, we've broken down some of the spring game. We'll probably talk about some more of the spring game standouts and some different things that they've got going there, and how that kind of looks, and who we thought were some of the top performers that will just in the spring game. Tomorrow, I believe we're going to have Cody Simon on, so pretty excited about that. We can do his prospect preview and everything, and then we'll talk to him before that.
To his face, all of his flaws.
We can tell him about his flaws. Believe me, I'm pretty sure that he knows about all of his flaws and everything else that's out there with it all.
Then we'll fluff him up with all of the good that he's not.
Well, then you can be Schlegs. Everyone has always said you're the best fluffer around.
I do my best.
I know. Well, you've got soft hands, and they're not overly large, so that's good for my confidence. Makes me feel better about everything. Just
callousy.
Really? Oh no, you wear gloves when you lift, Schlegs. I heard.
Oh my gosh! Do not throw that out into the universe that I would ever do. I would never do that. Ever.
Really?
What? Oh my gosh, Bob, that's like the ultimate put down. That
I will say this. The only time I ever wore gloves when I would lift.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Oh, so you actually have. I can honestly tell you that I have never, in my life, worn lifting gloves.
But you can also tell me in your life you've never hang cleaned more than me. And so that was the reason I wore them. When you get a fresh bar with that fresh knurl on there and you're coming in, and it was basically like a meat processor on the side of my thumbs as you'd roll that bar over, and it would just the blood. My dad was like, dude, this is ridiculous. We'd be in lifting. He's like, we're gonna have to spray these bars down afterwards for
leave it on there.
Yeah.
Leave it there.
Well, it's like after the Magic Johnson thing, when we were growing up, like people got kind of weird about blood, like wet blood sitting on things. He's like, you can't live with it. And we would all be bleeding on each other because we'd get like, oh, we got new bars. This is great. Look how they spin. I'm like, yeah, when they roll over in my hand, look what it does to it. It's like a lawnmower just hit the side of my thumb. So that was the only time I wore them, was simply due to the fact to protect that inside of the thumb on the hang clean roll. I would have the fingers to make sure, but usually they weren't even lifting gloves. We didn't have the money for that. So I'd use old football gloves that I just cut the fingertips out of. The Newmans, because before that I would tape it, and like the tape did something, but then you get sweaty and it would slide off, and then you just be bleeding all over the place. And then also, like we would do this we had lifting class during school. So then you've got to go into class, and I'm writing on a piece of paper that looks like it's a blood offering that I'm giving my teacher because the blood's just dripping down my thumb as I'm trying to write. So that is the only time I've ever worn gloves. My wife, Courtney.
Side nugget. How much, what's the most you've ever hang clean?
In one rip, I think I did 405 one time in one rip. Now, my max.
No straps, like no lifting straps.
No, I always wore straps.
Okay.
It's about, listen, I'm not doing a forearm workout. I'm seeing how much weight I can rip off the ground with my explosion from my hips and back, Schlegs. Like, I mean, never mind. I was going to say the straps, I would always strap up when you're using hang clean motions otherwise, at least most of the time before I had kids. But the most I ever did in Dallas, we would do like a 3 to 5 rep max, and I did 375 for 5. And that was what I felt pretty good about. Like that was kind of my apex. Probably why my back's a little bumpy at this point in my life, just throwing that much weight. Like, but DeMarcus Ware did it, and like I was the top cleaner, and watching DeMarcus do it, I was like, I cannot let him beat me. I mean, DeMarcus, I was hang clean since 7th grade. DeMarcus is just a freak. So he had that going for him. And I mean, DeMarcus, I would lie. I'd load the bar up, and I used to lie to him on how much was on there because he's like, how much is that? I'm like, it's less than me. And he's like, you sure? I'm like, oh, yeah, it wasn't. And I just like move some weights around, and he'd rip it. He's, man, that felt heavy. I'm like, yeah, but you're really strong. So don't worry about it. I'm going to make you better by doing this, because he was just an animal of being able to do this. But I want to start out with this, Schlegs. OSU primetime games. I think this is the appropriate way to go. We're going to get into some portaling situations and everything else here, but I want to start out with this because I think this is big. And I saw this come out the other day, and everybody has complained. They have lamented about OSU big noon all the time. And then the problem is you get the big games at big noon, and then you give me Western Michigan at 7:30 at night. I'm like, that's the game I want to see at noon. I can take my kids. We can leave in the third quarter after the band goes on, and I can have the rest of my day. I don't need to wait around all day for a butt kicking of economic proportion or of historic proportion. So our guy Ross Bjork, who I need to probably get him on the show sometime.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah, well,
I need to call him too. How about I call him? I'll do that one.
You can do that. You can say that Ross is the man of the people. He likes to answer the questions. But Ross is going to be taught. He's going to work and try to work with the television networks to get some more primetime games. And I'm a big believer. Only games that should be primetime are games that weren't primetime. Top 10, top 15 matchups, big games, maybe 3 of them a year. I'd like 2 at home. If you get 1 at home, that's great. Michigan's always at noon. I love that. Maybe you put some of your mid-tier games in that 3:30 window. And if you want to have a big game once in a while at noon, that's fine. And you have the rest of the noon. So my thing is like, hey, 5 or 6 noon games, 2 or 3 night games, 2 or 3 afternoon games. Poof, David Copperfield, it works. But I love the fact that Ross is going to television partners because they will rate higher. OSU Texas will be the highest rated thing cooking, and it'll rate higher at night than it will at noon. And so I know this is something for fans, and it's early in the year. It's not cold. You weren't at that Tennessee game, and I think that probably sold him. I go, this place at night in a big environment is fire. And I'm thinking that this is where they're going because after seeing that, understanding like as long as it's a spot shot, we don't need it all the time, but for the appropriate game schlegs, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think we've all seen a night game at A&M earlier in the year, right? They were showing that, like, well, why can't we do that at Ohio State? It's like, it's there. I brought it. Like, I brought the experience. We just don't get them. Yeah. And I think, to your point from that game, also being one of the top 10 televised games in all of college football for the season, granted, it was the first round of the playoffs. Everybody wanted to see how the Buckeyes were going to respond and et cetera, et cetera. But if the number one brand in the sport can produce those things at night, why wouldn't you put them at night every single time when the matchup was there? Yeah. Right? Like the Penn State game, that honestly is what you want to say. The whiteout, it's a different environment. It would have been great. That game, I think it was a 3:30 kick. That should have been probably a night game. Like those ones draw the people. And guys, like don't just put us in a box and say we're big new kickoff all the time. Like, expand the box, right? Like we are just a different brand that can draw revenue to you. Work with us. It's better for our fans. It's better for our recruiting, right? All of this and the fact that we need to put grass back in the stadium, I'm like, let's just go. Ross, keep it going, sir. Keep it going.
Yeah. And grass in the stadium, listen, you got to take the stuff as you can get it, Schlegs. Little nuggets, little bites all the time. You don't eat the elephant in one giant bite. You cut it down, eat it in one bite at a time. And let's talk about the competitive advantage for a second.
Do it.
For Ohio State, because here's the reality. When you play Texas in 2026, you're going to have to ultimately play that game at night down in Austin. If you're going to be playing these big non-conference games, they've got Bama on the slate. They've got Georgia on the slate. And honestly, I think Ohio State, unless those schools want to move, they're going to stick with it. So, unless those schools want to cancel it. So you would be playing your big game at noon and their big game at night in the either preceding or following year. That's a competitive disadvantage for you.
Yeah.
And I don't think people fully understand that nationally. I think people locally do. You get it, players get it, but hopefully they can begin to understand this. And I think that's what I think Ross is battling for. But talk a little bit, Schlegs, about the difference between playing that raucous night environment versus playing something that, is during the day.
Here's the deal. Competitive excellence doesn't have a time set, right? It's like, hey, you're going to go out there and compete. But for us in a night game here, you have a routine. And again, when you have a Big Ten, Oregon coming here, playing at big noon kickoff. Actually, it does a competitive advantage for them because of the time zones anyways. They're losing hours by coming here. Rather, still, you want it at night because it just heightens everything, man. Like, guys feed off of the environment. When fans are engaged all the time, like that's what you want, right? You're going to feed off of that. We all have routines. It's not going to really like mess that up, but to have the fan experience, to have the player experience in the shoe at night when you host recruits there.
Yes.
Again, it's different. The competitive advantage comes from the recruiting more so than the playing of the actual game, in my opinion, because you always want to put your best self forward. And our best self at Ohio State is a night game in the shoe.
Yes.
And so competitive excellence, whether it's at noon or at night, it's the same. You want your guys to be able to experience that environment. But from a recruiting landscape, to bring those guys to that marquee matchups, like when you come here, we don't run from other schools. We're going to play them, and we're going to play the best games at night in this environment. They're like crap on a stick. And because they might have to go to a Texas game. Remember, we recruit nationally, so they might go to a Texas game. That game might be at 3:30, but we can say, hey, man, this is the game that you want to be at. And we got it because we are the brain that can do it.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, though. I know that you say recruiting. That's a huge piece of it. Player procurement. You come in there, you see it. It gives you the whole day. Guys can travel, especially from national recruits that are coming from everywhere else, coming from the South. And they see it. They're comparing apples to apples. Like, I was at Georgia at night when they played Tennessee. Like, this is a hell of an environment. And you're tailgating all day, and you can see the atmosphere. You get in there. It's electric. There's all kinds of things happening. So it's impressive to recruits. You know what it says? It matters here. It matters a lot. And when you go to Ohio State, I tell people, like, going down to the big games, like there's the Notre Dame game at night. It's like, that's like the stinking state fair, man. There's 250,000 people down there. Most of them aren't even going to the game. They're just down there hanging out, sights, sounds, smells, have some drinks, relax. Like, it's a fun time. But the other element of it is defensively, it helps. That noise is so
defensively,
deafening.
for sure.
It is a competitive advantage. Like, when you hear teams and you see teams, you talk about Ohio State when they went to Oregon, you saw there was some procedural penalties. There were some issues. Like, guys aren't necessarily getting blocked. That's the advantage that Buckeye Nation can ultimately bring to the table. And that's why you got to give those guys those nuggets as much as it is for recruiting on the defensive side of the ball. Now, you've got to have your signals, and it means your defense has to communicate really well, nonverbal cues, but that puts the offense in duress. And for like a first-time starter, or first year, I guess, opening day starter for Arch Manning, that's the environment you want to throw them in. Like, you wouldn't want Lincoln Keenholz or Julian Sayin being thrown into Austin at night in their first start. Like, let's flip the script and throw Arch into the frying pan.
Absolutely, Rob, you're amazing.
Do you like the frying pan, Schlegs? Hop on in there.
I love frying. I don't want to be in one, but I like them. So put other people in them. But no, Bob, listen, I can't even elaborate anymore on it because you hit the nail on the head of the competitive advantage.
I come here for your ideas, Schlegs. That's what we're bringing. I'm trying to pump you full of ideas. So much pumping into your brain, getting it taken care of. We got a big show for you today to talk a little bit about John Gruden. We got our
dude, that was amazing.
Our prospect preview. John Gruden's the best. We'll get to him next. Get to our spring standouts as well. It's gonna be a good one, Schlegs. I want to tell you about this. Our friends over at Export. Parents, athlete, protect what matters most with Export mouth guards. They're trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards are scientifically tested to absorb those high impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber, custom fit. They 3D print that thing right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, clear communication, so you can focus on the game, not on the gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Exportguards.com/Bobby today. Save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. Get some John Gruden coming up next. Schlegs, we're back here. We got some John Gruden. So you took a little nugget of this. You got a chance to see it. So we might.
I saw it, man. It's freaking awesome.
We might. You know what? We're going to do this first before we get to the Ohio State version of it, Schlegs. We're going to watch this Wisconsin hype video. It's got Luke Fickle in it, who's our guy. John Gruden coming in and speaking on that, talking about all that, everything that he's doing. Luke brings him in like, hey, let's get these guys hyped up. Wisconsin, a little bit of a disappointing season, but let's go get them going. This had me hyped up, man. Like John Gruden's like 60 years old, loves ball, loves getting out there and talking to the guys. And Schlegs, this is kind of what I envision your life turning into. At some point in time, you turn into John Gruden, and that's the dude that you're ultimately going to be, just hyping everybody up.
It's all about the presentation. You know, he's so juiced, right? And he says it with such conviction.
I'd like to introduce Big Cat, Dan Katz back there. He's the brains. I don't want to be a long time, but I travel around the country. I have an office. All I do is study film, and I love football. I've seen some things. I'd like to just give you 4 quick observations. Would you like it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 1, everybody has dreams. I mean, everybody's got dreams of winning the Big Ten, getting in the playoffs, getting a new NIL deal. Everybody has what? Dreams. I'm into nightmares. You guys got to end people's dreams. You understand that? Miami, Ohio's coming in here in a couple months. You end their dreams, okay? And then you get on with the schedule. But everybody's got dreams. Now, it's your job to end those dreams and become a nightmare coming out of the tunnel, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 2 is there's a thing called the team. It's called the what?
Team.
The team. There's a lot of people, I think, in football now that aren't invested in the team. Are we clear on that?
Yes,
I want you to envision a big rock right here. The rock is the opponent. And if you pound that rock by yourself, that rock won't crack. If you pound a rock with them, that rock won't crack. And that rock is Michigan. That rock is Alabama. We all got to pound a what?
Rock.
We all got to pound a what?
Rock.
Okay, invest in this team. In these next couple weeks before spring practice goes away, invest in your teammates, man. Go out of your way to get to know each other and have a rock mentality. Point number 3 real quick is communication. Say it with me. It ain't good enough. It's not good enough anywhere. Coaches, we're not communicating good enough together. Players and coaches don't communicate good enough together. Yes? Every blown coverage, every big running play, there's a lack of what on defense? Recognize the set, make the call, and let's roll. Yeah? Well, let's communicate better. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is this. What I've noticed is there's really good effort here. Really good. But there's a big difference between good and great. Are we clear on that? You get one shot at 2025. That's it. And as soon as you blink your eyes and open them, it's over. We got to do a better job, I think, of working together. Yes?
Sir.
I'm talking about our effort, our execution, our enthusiasm, and our intensity. You turn it up 4%, 2%, 8%, 10%, and that accumulation is going to turn us into a freaking nightmare. You guys dig it?
Yes, sir.
You guys believe in each other or not?
Yes, sir.
Go prove it. All right? Let's go, man. Let's have a great day.
I'm juiced, bud. I'm juiced up. I think I saw Jaden Ballard in there from Ohio State, former receiver. I thought I saw him in there. I'm not sure if that's where he transferred in the portal.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so he's up there. But his intensity, talking about the communication, the effort, the toughness, like all of those things, turning it up. It's like communicate together. Hit the rock. Don't smoke it. You always said that, Schleiks, because that's a key thing. No? Is it not? Is that not the deal?
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Okay. I want you to break it down, Coach Schleiks, because you're the one that gets in there.
I love what he said. First off, I remember 2014, there was a song called Dreams and Nightmares. And I used to play that because it was like 55 seconds, maybe like a minute 2 of like this like intro. And then the beat would just hit and dudes just went crazy. But what he's talking about is absolutely like the part of being able to be the nightmare is the preparation to be the nightmare. And that's why I think so many times there's the disconnect. There's the disconnect. Like Hunter's team last night, they're in district, like they're ranked in the top 25. Not anymore, because you go out and you absolutely play like trash versus a trash team. If you want to go be a nightmare, it's the consistency. Consistent work works all the time. But the mindset of that's why he went into investing. Again, how do you become a nightmare? I love how he started it off. You become a nightmare by investing in the team and your teammates, by communication, and then taking good effort into great effort allows you to go be that nightmare. That's the point. If you want to get to that, right? Remember, we say, if you're not, what the hell do I say all the time in my deal? Oh my gosh. No, if you're not,
if you don't have anything to prove, you'll never improve.
No.
If
It's on the top. No, don't worry about it. It's on the top of my Schlegel Armory to-do list, right? It's this, right? If you are replaceable, you're not promotable. Okay, I'm sorry, I blanked on it. I got like 4 things. Like if you undervalue it, don't underappreciate it. The cheaper you are, the more it will cost. If you are replaceable, you're not promotable. And a good plan executed violently now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. And in your quote, Bob, don't confuse activity with achievement. That's on the top of my thing. I should probably read that every single day. But all of those things together, right, that he talked about is what allow you to be a nightmare for somebody. Whether that's in your business and you got a competitor, go be their nightmare. How? Invest in the team, right? Great communication, great effort allows you to do that. I love, again, short and sweet and concise. John Gruden, super juicy.
Super juicy. That was only 3 minutes. And
why do you need to take more? Don't need to take any more.
He didn't, like, it was very concise. And he's done that a bunch. He'd been in front of teams and doing that. So to see him do that at Wisconsin was absolutely tremendous. He ended up doing
Fick needed that too, Bob, because sometimes, just so you guys know too, right? We have this with our children. Sometimes you need another voice.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes they can white noise you, right? And Fick knows exactly what he wants, communicated already, delivered differently to resonate, right? Yeah. To keep that consistent. Good job, Fick.
Absolutely. With that. All right. We're going to take a quick break because we got some more with John Gruden. Not only did he sit down with Will Howard, but he got a sweet little swag bag.
Yeah,
we'll break some of that down. We'll talk about that little swag bag that John Gruden got coming up next. All right, so here's John Gruden now getting his OSU stuff. And, they sent him in. They were going to have Will Howard there, and John Gruden loves opening up gifts. And they were going heavy in this. So he talks a little bit about it. It's long, so we're not going to play the whole thing. And, man, the stuff that he's pulling out of there, Schlegs, we might have to go over to the EQ room at Ohio State and try to get some of his.
Kevin, I know a guy. Come on, we know the guy.
Yeah, you know the guy. And so John Gruden, they sent this over here, and he does an unbelievable little reveal of what he's got here from the Buckeyes. And he's an Ohio guy, so he knows.
Special day. This is the national champion box from the Ohio State. And you know why they say the Ohio State? It's where Woody Hayes is from. Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, the only 2-time Heisman Trophy champion, Archie Griffin. All of these things in here are boxed up like national champions. And they packed it so even an adult like me could unbox it. This is chilling, man. When I think of Ohio State, I think of greatness. You talk about an alumni, it's where Jack Tatum played football, Randy Gradishar, Hopalong Cassidy. And if you know anything about Vic Janowitz, you might be talking about the greatest football player ever. You know why I wore number 10 in high school, Jake? Ask me.
Why'd you wear
Art Schleister, baby. They wore high-top tennis shoes on AstroTurf, just like Art Schleister. Pete Johnson, freaking Eddie George, Ricky Dudley, John Frank. You guys think I don't know Ohio State? I'm from Ohio. I grew up wanting to be a Buckeye. You're talking Peter Millar, Ohio State here? Look at this. How would you like to be the receiver coach at Ohio State? Forget about the guys they got coming out this year. Ted Ginn, Joey Galloway, David Boston, Chris Carter. You want me to go on and on, don't you? How about Terry Glenn? How about Brian Bashnagel? How about Dane Sanzabaka? Remember Trinka trying to say Sanzabaka? Look at this.
So great.
Look at this. Ohio State recruiting department. Let's just say you're being recruited at Ohio State to play linebacker. A.J. Hawk. Freaking Tom Cousineau. Andy Katzenmoyer. Look at this, man. Can you imagine this? Is this freaking unbelievable? How would you like to be Randy goddamn Gradishar going into Hall of Fame? You know where he went? Ohio State. How about the all-time great Chris Spielman? Is that chilling? Will Howard on Gruden's QB class? I swear, this is like got me feeling nicey. Oh, oh, baby. You know, if you were a secondary coach, tell me these aren't Titleist Ohio State balls. Good God. Hey, Jeff, come on, camera. Here, come on, camera.
Come on in. Yeah.
Oh, here.
Get a
Get a picture of this Ohio State golf ball. Look at that. It's freaking amazing. This is just one box.
We got a Letterman jacket and everything in there.
College football playoff.
My goodness, yeah. It's the stuff that he was pulling out of there. But what I was impressed with, Schlegs, is you sometimes you forget about it. And we were rattling off earlier this week, Morning Juice, the numbers that are retired at Ohio State. And I believe there's 6 numbers that are retired. And you heard John Gruden just rattling off. Vic Janowitz. I believe who are the numbers he had? Hop Cassidy, Archie Griffin, all these different ones. And number 10, ironically, isn't retired yet. Troy's the only Heisman Trophy winner who hasn't had it retired, but Rex Kern also wore that. Arch Schleister, just some 99 for Bill Willis, 47 for AJ Hawk, possibly. But also for Chick Harley. And like Gruden, man, he's an Ohio dude. I mean, I think he played at Dayton, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right in saying that, Schlegs?
Well, he was born in Sandusky. Go look up where he played college ball.
I think he played football at Dayton, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's a big thing for him, and everything. So there's a lot there. I know that, AJ.
Right, University of Dayton, Bob. You are correct, sir.
Look at that. I mean, I know my John Gruden stats. And so he played, and AJ wore that. Now Donald Trump is wearing the famed 47. Could have worn the 45 too. Ironically, the 2 numbers he's getting are both retired by Ohio State. So there's a little
Vice
irony.
President's a Buckeye.
Yeah, absolutely. JD Vance, Buckeye, but awesome to kind of see that and everything else there. He talked about that receiver room. He talked about Brian Hartline, and coaching the guys that they've got coming out. So I want to pull this up here and talk a little bit about Brian, throwing up some of Brian Hartline's highlights of what he did, because he's up in the box now, Schlegs, and that's going to be interesting to kind of see ultimately how that goes and what it is, because he's always been a dude, I think, that's been down on the sideline. So now him being in the box, trying to make that adjustment. We'll watch a couple of his highlights, and then we're going to talk, Schlegs, a little bit about what it means for Brian Hartline to ultimately be up there in the box.
Is the tailback. Beckman play action, throws Hartline. Hartline's got field.
Quick screen.
Look at Boone. Look at Boone. Look at that guy.
Yeah. Oh, dropping back.
Fake, and Pryor wants it all. Going long, got a man and got him. Touchdown, Hartline. They can use him, I guess, the way they want to use him. And here's Todd to the end zone. Touchdown. Good
Doing some work.
Todd
Beckman, Pryor, all over the place. Big deal for Hart. But Schlegs, he's going to be up now in the box. Yeah. He's up in the box of the spring game. You're a guy that's always been a sideline dude because you're a strength coach. So there's no need for you to go up and lift weights in the box. There's no coaches to keep back up there. It gives you a better viewing perspective on the field, but also it changes the interaction you might be having with your players. And so the pros and cons, and let's talk a little bit about that and how that looks for the next couple minutes.
Yeah. So I think one of those deals is obviously Brian's run a phenomenal wide receiver room, developed a lot of dudes, the communication that goes back and forth, because like Haycock was on the field, Fick was on the field with us, Bob. And Haycock was calling the stuff from it because he was like, hey, you guys tell me what they got. I got my play sheet, whatever. I do think him and Keenan Bailey being up there together, and a lot of this has changed, Bob, now compared to the past because of the amount of assistance that you can also have on the sideline has exponentially grown. And I say this because we're talking about the wide receiver position. You also have another Buckeye, great human, Devin Jordan, that is the assistant wide receiver coach that knows the stuff that Hart wants to communicate to those guys. And again, a very, very good group. Guess what? I trust Devin. He's going to run that area. And we're going to communicate, but he's going to make sure that everybody's communicated to on the bench. But then now you have Tyler Bowen on the field, along with other assistant offensive line coaches, right? Locke on the field, right? So those things of the offensive line and the running backs handled, right? Keenan, he doesn't need to do that. Other tight end coach there, boom, you got that. We're communicating. So the communication now, because of the amount of people that you had, sometimes you think, well, the more you got to communicate, the worse it is. But if you trust them and you all know and you've all communicated prior to, we all know the adjustments that we had to be made. It's a better advantage for him to be in the box, to see the whole picture as to how we can set things up. Hard to get that set up mentality, mindset, I think, from the ground level versus in the box.
Yeah. And so also in the box, Schlegs, it's more of a sterile environment. And so you can detach yourself from the emotion. I think defensively, you can call a game on the sideline because, as we know, defense is more reactionary.
Yes.
And then you make adjustments off everything.
Yes.
But when you're in offense, like, you can't let the gravity of a 12-yard sack or a 35-yard gain and the emotional swing that comes with that. You have to have a play, and you have to say, we're going to call this. If this good thing happens, I've got another call ready to go. If it doesn't do much, I've got this. If something bad happens, I've got another play. But you can't have everybody running around and like jumping on you, like, and that's what's hard. And that's what's tough for Ryan, like managing that, and then like looking at the clock and understanding all those things when you're down there in the mix. And when you're in the mix of it all, man, it's like strikes. It's tough to work in the business and on the business. And when you're calling plays on the sideline, it's hard. And Ryan did a great job of it.
Yeah.
As good a job as you probably can. But the other thing is, like you said, because you'll probably have everybody on the sideline for position coaches, outside of your coordinators. Because the coordinators, and I think Matty P is more of a box guy. I think. I'm not positive. I'll have to go back and kind of look. And he might want to be up there. But you have to have guys up there that you can trust that are giving you an accurate vision of what's happening if you're on the sideline. And not that that's, impossible to find, but it's hard. It's hard. And so that's an element that they'll obviously have to figure out everything. Go ahead.
I can see right now, based on what they did last year and based on the coaches that they have on the staff of defense, my perspective would be Guerreri and Matty P would be in the box because you have another DB coach, right? He's there. Larry likes to be on the field, and you have James. So you got all three bases covered. Makes sense. Everybody else in the box, great communication, go.
Absolutely. And so I think that works, and that will probably be how it is. And we'll see if they tinker or tweak with that a little bit. And maybe you can even have G down the sideline because you have Taver Johnson and guys like that today.
Touché.
And then, depending on who you feel better about, and like maybe Guerreri wants to be up top to be able to see it better. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you get a much better view. If you ever sit in C-Deck at Ohio State, you got a bird's eye view of everything that's going on, and you can see, they're running this, they're running that, look at these splits and everything else. I want to tell you about a great new company that's got some unbelievable Ohio State gear called Backer, BCKR, premium Buckeye jackets and hats. I'll have to pull one of them over here at some point in time. Schlegs got tremendous stuff. They were founded because they wanted to have higher quality fan gear. Their products, they're going to be better than just about anywhere else you're looking, man. It's high quality. It's good stuff. It's really nice. It may cost a little more, but you're getting it in the value because it's going to last longer. They feel better. The materials, they're built to last. If you like high quality outdoor gear, fishing, golfing, hunting, this is it. Tons of great features. And here's the best part of them. A portion of all the proceeds, Schlegs, is bought at backer.com. That's BCKR. Goes back to the student athletes. So how about that? You're helping support the Buckeyes again. Use code Bobby in all caps for expedited shipping. That's Backer, BCKR. Check them out. Prospect preview, because it might be a certain receiver for the Ohio State Buckeyes coming up in headlines. All right, welcome into our headlines, Schlegs, and we love the headlines. We get to the biggest stuff. We've been doing our prospect previews in there. Our headlines are brought to you by our friends over at Lake Spur Marketing. Lake Spur Marketing. They're a full-service agency that's built on trust, strategy, performance. Lake Spur team, they shield you and your team from that outside noise, the cold callers. They don't let you deal with all the nonsense. They let you do what you do best. You can work on the business instead of working in the business. They've got over 100 years of marketing experience. Lake Spur Marketing eliminates waste, and they deliver on budget. They don't chase clicks. They build partnership, Schlegs. That's the key. You want to have someone you know you can trust. Lakesburg Marketing, the proof is in their partners. Now we're going to get to our prospect preview. Mr. Emeka Egbuka, Schlegs.
Egbuka.
6'1", 201, fourth-year senior, 22 years old.
0.53.
22 and a half. Sounds like my son. He was six and a half, Dad. 6.5 sandwich. Leading receiver all time at Ohio State, Schlegs, in receptions. How does that sound?
It sounds amazing. And couldn't be a better human. I'll let you guys throw up the rest of the strengths and weaknesses, but the number one thing that stands out to me with Emeka, first time I got to really hang out with him was on the Buckeye Cruise the year before, and just what a pleasant individual he is. Then I got to experience him in the weight room and actually see like his body and just the way he handles his business.
You like seeing dudes' bodies, Schlegs.
Well, I mean, again,
talk about with such great passion.
I know, but like trains really, really hard, pushes people really, really hard. A quiet guy, vocal when he needs to be vocal, but a absolute worker. And that's, again, a professional when he's a junior. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just seen it. Like that, kudos to the guys in the room that came before him because they developed a pro early. And then when it was his time to shine, he is just that guy. And probably most importantly, wanted to come back to leave the room better than he found it and invest in other guys. Like when you have a high character guy like that, like those, to me as an organization, that's the strengths I'm looking for.
So I talked to Dallas. They texted me when some of my friends down there, like, dude, crushing the interview. Like this isn't even real. Like it's not even fair. And you know, Shoddy, like you're gonna be blown away by all our guys. Emeka might be one of the most impressive humans I've ever been around. Comes back, wanted to break that. You look at him, ball judgment, ability to track, corral, non-perfect throws, unbelievable. You saw the one-hander he had against Oregon. Limber upper body, Schlegs, really fluid, able to move, get through difficult angles, good at concentrating through the catch point. Did a great job with that as well. They played defensive back, had interceptions in high school. Unbelievable football IQ, unbelievably tough. Is already a pro, according to receiver Brian Hartline. He gains ground quickly, and you see Hart with what he teaches them and how they're able to go about gain that ground quickly, gobbling up space. Love to see that out of him. Knows how to set up his defenders. Ironically, one of his comps is Jackson Smith and Jigba, who played at Ohio State before him and had all that stuff right there. So that's amazing. He has all that. I think he's probably going to be the second Buckeye off the board. I think Josh Simmons might go first. I think Emeka is fringe end of the first roundish, somewhere maybe 20 to 40 picks. And so it's going to depend. People think he's maybe the second or third best wide receiver out there. More of a slot guy, but can ultimately do some of the stuff on the outside as well. But really good. You remember his burst onto the scene and what he can provide.
Yeah,
So,
I think with Emeka, the other good thing, and you mentioned it, Bob, was the fact that people are looking for real-time evaluation in the league of who you could be. And it just so happens to be a guy that was in the room with you. And they're just like, oh, I could go get that type of production right now. And that's the same thing. And that's, again, the value of the coach saying that because he's the one that coached Jackson. I think it's just amazing. And that's also the value prop of why you come to Ohio State, because the dudes that you want to emulate and be at the next level all came from this program.
Absolutely. Pretty darn impressive. All right. Put a pin in that. We've got our headlines, that's it for this edition of Headlines and our prospect preview. Coming up next, like we're going to dive in to our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. We answer your questions. We got some great comments in the show. We had Bill Bender on earlier this week. We'll dive into those next. All right, welcome back into the show. Here's our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. One of the questions, Schlegs, the first one here comes in, comments from 79 Jedi Buck, said, thank you for the show, guys. Nice content and info. And I believe that what he's showing me here, the emoji, said, what does the credit card emoji mean, by the way? #weird. And I'm guessing, Schlegs, that credit card emoji that someone threw up in the chat, or maybe we were talking about, what does it represent, you think?
Charge it to winning.
Charge it to winning. There you go, Jedi Buck. We've got it there for you. Charge it to winning and how big that is. We also have this from Rob_W78. And this is something that I didn't think was the case. And then after doing some digging in it and figuring this out, it says Schlegs, I don't think Hero Canoe, that is, can get NIL money since he's from Germany. It would violate his visa status. I don't know, but he got something. So he is German. And so there is a student visa, and there are limits and components to how you can earn and what you can do. There is some creative stuff, I guess, that they can do with that.
Yeah,
so
I got no clue.
I know
he
you don't know.
Bro. He got something, bro. He got something.
He did, because he got a lot of money to be able to go to Texas. And I know that there was some limitations here and how that ultimately had to work and what it had to do, what they had to do to maybe get it done. And I'm not sure, like, the logistics of it, but rest assured, Rob, that they paid him a lot to get down there, and they may have had to do it in creative and unique ways, but he did get a large chunk of cash to be able to do it. And then we got this from the Christian Muma. I love that kids are getting paid, but the fact that they want big money without proving themselves is going to destroy the sport. I think thinking is what society is all about these days. Delayed gratification is gone. Christina, I don't disagree with you in that. I think that there is an element where the struggle is real and understanding how to push through that. Tress has talked about that, and it's all about the team. I think we've referenced it here. Making guys go through some hard stuff and figuring those things out and navigating that is not the easiest. And I think guys should always get compensated, but there is benefit in life, Schlegs, to pushing through really hard things and what that does for you developing emotionally.
Yeah. There's a great, I'm gonna bring it up now. There was a player that left in the portal and went to SMU, and he was like, whoever told me to leave Ohio State, shaking my head, something like that. Like, why was I listening to those people? And it goes back, like, is the NIL the end all be all just to go get paid to go somewhere else when you potentially could have won a national championship? Like, again, you have to weigh all of those different things when you do that. I think it's a very simple situation. I don't think that it's wrecking the sport. I just think that the adults in the room have done a disservice to the athletes by not structuring and having a standard as to how you go about it. And to me, it's very simple. It's a 2-year contract. The pay is the pay, whatever you agree upon. And then after that, it's 1-year contracts. They start and they finish at the end of the season. That way you have roster management, and then you can go on to the open market. So it's every year as a free agency. But like, that's the why. That's the how. And it's not going to ruin anything. They just got to come to an agreement as to how you're going to execute.
Paying isn't the problem. It's how they're getting paid and the structure and the surround and the guardrails of which it's going to happen. All right, that's it for this edition of our Tailgate Talk. Some great comments, great questions. Please keep throwing them in there for us. Like, subscribe, leave your comments and questions. We really appreciate it. Share it with everybody. Coming up next, Schlegs, you're going to wrap up the show with your parting thoughts. All right, Schlegs, you get about 30 seconds. Wrap this back.
30 seconds right there. It says, hey, I saw this on the Google machine, and consecutive programs with consecutive 10-win seasons, excluding the COVID season. I highlight there in the chat there. Boom. Look at that, guys. Buckeyes, 12. That's a lot. Unfortunately, I was there in 11 when we were 6-7. So that was dicey. But when you look at that, almost doubling every other program. And this kind of goes back to the Fire Ryan Day narrative, guys. Like, consistent work works. Like, where do you want to be? All of these things, like, it takes time, energy, and effort, the right people in the right seats on the bus. Nobody is doing it at a better clip than the Ohio State Buckeyes. Just wanted to throw that up there just so everybody knows.
That's it. Well, that ends this edition, the Thursday edition of the Bobby Carpenter Show. Thank you for tuning in and locking in for us. Stay tuned tomorrow on Friday. We should be having Cody Simon on here with us, so it's going to be a lot of fun and leads you right into the Easter weekend and celebration of Good Friday as well. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on Friday.